What's up, everybody? JV Wins Dogon SS. We are back once again for a little bit of flavor in your ear.
Yeah.
Conscious approach on YouTube as well now as Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we're also now. I don't listen to podcasts on Amazon, but Amazon apparently has a podcast apparatus.
Oh, shit.
So for anybody who gets their podcast from Amazon, we are also on Amazon as well. So
Yeah.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as Amazon for anybody who wants to check out the episodes, but doesn't want to watch the YouTube video for whatever reason. But we certainly appreciate any and every way that you engage with our content. But yeah, JV Wins Dogon SS, we are here once again. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate everybody for watching on this evening of December the 10th as we sit 3 subscribers away from our 1,000 subscriber initial goal.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool stuff, man. I will be able to say that I achieved this, that we achieved this. I know in the grand scheme of the internet and YouTube, it's a mere drop in the bucket. It's not a whole lot, but we also are a mom and pop, or rather a pop and pop, I guess would be more appropriate. And we have put $0, not a single dime, into this. We have merely put in our own time and respective creative juices to try and grow the community and continue to crank out this logical content. So for anybody who has not already done so, if this is your first time catching wind of what we like to do here on the channel, go ahead and subscribe to us, hit the like button, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video as we continue to flesh this thing out and have a lot of fun. With that out of the way, we have a lot of interesting things to talk about tonight. So we are going to go ahead and get right into it. The first thing that we are going to discuss are interesting comments made by, at this point, hip hop veteran Waka Flocka. Waka Flocka for short, Waka Flocka Flame in full, who was recently a guest on another internet show. This show that he was a guest on is My Mixtapes. And, Waka was talking about how he doesn't really see the appeal in extreme wealth. He feels as though it is wasteful and he prefers to give money away because otherwise he does not know what to do with it. He talks about how, so long as he can eat what he wants, drive what he wants, and live however he wants, what does he care that he has 20 million, 30 million, 50 million, 100 million, or whatever the case may be? As long as all of his needs are met, he's not really overly concerned with amassing as much wealth as possible. He says he feels as though it's selfish. So that was a word that he used, but of course we are going to go ahead and provide that context so that I am not speaking on his behalf. He can go ahead and speak for himself.
Okay.
But this says Waka Flocka Flame gives away his money because being wealthy is selfish. Waka Flocka Flame has explained the logic behind why he opts to give away over half of his fortune to friends and family rather than accumulating mass wealth for solely himself. In his recent interview with music executive Ray Daniels' podcast, The Guard Show. So I misspoke. The name of the show is actually The God Show. So retraction on that. The name of the show is The God Show. Flocka revealed that he has been living on a small portion. Waka Flocka Flame has explained the logic behind why he opts to give away over half his fortune to his friends and family rather than accumulating mass wealth for himself. In his recent interview with music executive Ray Daniels' podcast, The God Show, Flocka revealed that he has been living on a small portion of whatever he makes per year for the last 15 years on purpose. In fact, instead of chasing billion-dollar dreams, he's focused on building a legacy rooted in family, generosity, and authenticity. In his initial remarks, the Hard in the Paint rapper opened up about his philosophy on wealth, his commitment to helping others, and how aging has brought him a new sense of pride and purpose. I don't even know how to look at 20 million in my account, Flocka admitted. To me, that's selfish. Anytime 500,000 hits my account, I spend it. Business investments, who need it? My account even says, 70% of the money you make, you give it out. So I'm living off 30% of my money for the last 10 to 15 years. While many in his position might aim to hoard their riches or even view his approach as reckless, Waka takes a different approach. It just don't make sense for me to have 100 million, a billion. I just don't see the logic in it. If I can fly where I want to, drive where I want to, eat what I want to, what the F I need $100 billion for? For Waka, the real value of money is ensuring the future of his family. So here are Waka's statements exactly. So we'll go ahead and play this clip and then we'll give our reactions afterwards.
But I don't even know how to look at 20 million in my account.
Yeah.
To me, that's selfish.
Mm.
I think as a man like me today, anytime 500,000 hit my account, I spend it. Business, investments, who need it.
Yeah.
My account even say, 70% of the money you make, you give it out.
Mm.
So I'm living off 30% of my money for the last 10 to 15 years.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So
That's smart.
It just don't make sense for me to have $100 billion. I just don't see the logic in it.
Mm.
But if I could fly where I want to, drive where I want to, eat where I want to, what the fuck I need $100 billion for?
That's real.
The only thing I need this is to set up my families that's coming.
Mm.
But the results of that, I'm seeing today that a lot of people that's successful kids snort coke, do weed, got problems. So where did they go wrong?
Mm.
They worrying about too much business, and they got these young minds growing up with different ideologies that's not in your house.
That's real.
So you got to battle what you work for.
You got to fight them in the house and fight everything they're hearing out the house.
So guess what?
Yep.
I'd rather stay right here, man. I'd rather don't go in the clouds. All right, I'd rather goddamn folk my family, man.
Yeah.
I'm 38 years old. And I'm proud to say I'm 38 years old. I'm not out here trying to be 20. I don't care about being 20. When I get my 40s, I'm on some sex symbol shit.
Yeah.
Like that's because I'm my thing because I earned this shit.
Exactly.
Right. I ain't trying to out this shit. When you walk by me, I want you to call me Unc. I want you to call me Big Bro. I want you to call me OG.
Hysterical.
All right. And the article goes on to say, it goes on to paraphrase more of the comments there. So that was what Waka Flocka had to say about hoarding and amassing wealth. He'd rather give it away. He says he only lives on 30% of what he makes annually for the last 15 years or so. And he feels as though amassing that much wealth like that is selfish and he'd rather set up future generations. So what did you think of those comments?
I mean, this might not go over well with the financiers out there, but honestly, I like this approach. Now, I would have a couple of things that I would say in this. If he were here, he would be able to correct me or say, "Oh yeah, I'm doing that." Now, he said as soon as 500,000 hit his accounts, he used the word investment, so that's key. That's what I'm getting at. So long as this money is always coming in and always going to be coming in, because honestly, he hasn't had a record, to be making money for some time now. So he was a person that I knew that already was doing things on the side as far as like business ventures, getting into EDM, doing EDM shows. Getting that crossover money. So I know he was doing stuff, the TV show. So I knew he was doing things to still generate funds. So long as the funds are still being generated where you can still fly the way you want to fly in the next 10 years, I don't see anything wrong with any of this. And so long as that when you're, giving this money out, that, you're putting them in position, not in a situation where they're becoming dependent on your stipends. So I'm pretty sure he's got that in place. If he's talking like this, it sounds like he does do that. So long as those measures are in place, that these people aren't growing overly dependent on your generosity, and you've always, setting up investments in the future plays to make sure that you can still travel the way you want to and eat the way you want to and live in the types of living conditions you want to live in, I don't see anything wrong with this. I think this is actually a good thing, and that more people should, follow suit. If they've got the tenacity when it comes to, investing and making sure that money is always hitting your account. Why do you need so much money, just sitting around? So, I mean, I do like this. So what are your thoughts on, that's just my initial, but what are your thoughts on Sir Waka Flocka? What I'm saying, being a philanthropist for his own peoples. And he probably was giving out stuff to his community too that he didn't mention. So what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, that was where I was going to go. I like the mindset, of course. I don't think that should come as a shock to anybody. I did a quick, now I didn't know this. Maybe you knew this, but I wasn't aware of this. Back in 2022, he received an honorary professor degree in humanitarianism and philanthropy from the Bible Institute of America. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So literally, now it's an honorary degree, so it's not like he was taking college courses and getting the credits. But be that as it may, he specifically received an honorary degree in humanitarianism and philanthropy. So I don't mind this. Obviously, I don't think it helps the world to be a glutton with money, but I also don't think it helps the world to be irresponsibly wasteful with money at the same time. So of course it takes a balance, but I think the spirit behind his message is one that I can appreciate, because I hope that philanthropy is a part of what he is doing, with the fact that he essentially gives away 70% of what he earns every year. And I would only suggest that he be strategic in the way that he doles out his money from a philanthropic standpoint. And I'm going to pair a lot of my previous speech with other topics when we've talked about this. We've talked about Master P being the entertainment ambassador for the upcoming Super Bowl. And while people are crying and complaining because Lil Wayne wasn't selected to be the performer at the halftime show, my focus rather was on perhaps the possibility that a lot of the influx of capital and resources that will be coming into the city as a result of the Super Bowl can be brokered in such a way that it can be arranged to position a lot of the residents, people who come from Master P's own community, to be viable, future-proof professionals in future markets where they can be seen as an asset rather than a liability. And I would suggest the same thing for Waka Flocka. Hopefully he has people advising him on how and where to build startup hubs, tech schools in various communities that he comes from. He don't even have to go nationwide, worldwide. It can be right in the same areas where he came from. Build the tech hub, build the startup hub, build the tech school, because rather than trying to suggest that kids from his community try to follow in his footsteps and be a rapper or be an athlete or be a social worker or an otherwise expendable asset in this emerging market, I think that it is very important for people from underserved communities to be put in positions to be recession proof and market proof and be viewed as assets based upon the skill sets that they will retain as these world economies continue to evolve. An individual with his kind of mindset, who doesn't mind giving away 70% of his money philanthropically, can be one of the change agents who's responsible for making that more of a mainstay and less of an outlier. And there are other people who I can think of who fall into this category as well. Other people we've talked about on the channel. Jaylen Brown is one of them who's already actually doing this. So he goes without saying. But then there's other people like Killer Mike, who I admire, not just for his music, but because he actually does things that are positive. T.I., who buys up buildings and does his real estate thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, in addition to putting people up in housing who are hard up, we also need to put people who come from these areas in positions so much so that future economies can't view them as liabilities and essentially cast them off to the side as worthless because they don't have the skills that they need in order to contribute to the continued evolution of world markets. And right now, we are still at a place where a lot of people from our communities and anyone else who comes from some of these disenfranchised communities represent the lowest percentage of the participants who are learning these skills. Therefore, we represent the largest percentage of people who are more likely than not to be left behind. Regardless of what you see going on with DEI and all of these efforts that pro sports leagues are trying to do in inner city communities, that stuff doesn't mean anything if it isn't intentional enough to position these people to be market proof for the future. So if you are comfortable enough saying, I'll give away 70% of my money because I don't need it, and I'd rather set future people up for success, in addition to those in his immediate group, his family, and whatever, associates, friends, and all of that good stuff, expanding it beyond that to saying, hey, I want to intentionally put some of my own people. And that's not a race thing, that's more of an economic community thing, although it's going to also correlatively include race as well. But I'm not making a racial statement here. I'm making a statement about economics and people who are actively being left behind because they're not learning the skills that they need to learn in order to be viable in future markets, which includes a lot of Black and brown people, but it's basically anyone who's not learning those skills or are otherwise not being put in position to learn those skills because of the socioeconomic backgrounds that they come from. People like T.I., Killer Mike, Waka Flocka, other people like Nas, Jalen Brown, who have these types of sensibilities are the most in prime position to create avenues for people to be able to learn those skills. So I like the words because of the potentiality of them, and hopefully they bear fruit.
Yeah, man. And I also like the part that he brought up about taking care of his kids, in the sense that, other people that are in his position where they're millionaires or whatever, and they're out here ripping and running because they live a celebrity lifestyle, that the children often suffer from that. And they end up, alternatively becoming drug addicts or, leeches or something weird. So, instead of being that person that's always chasing the money, he's content of where he's at, and he'd rather be there to make sure that his kids have as normal of a upbringing as they possibly can, even though they were on TV and stuff. So, I mean, I agree. I agree with his whole stance here. And from what I did see from his TV show, because I did catch some episodes here, vicariously watching it. I'm not sitting there going to watch it, but it's on, and I'm seeing what's going on. And his mindset for the most part is it's in the same pocket, just like I said, like with Kendrick and J. Cole and stuff, where they grew up in the same era as us, so they have like the same type of mindset. And Waka, being 38, he's in that same boat where, hey man, I saw people make money before me. I saw people making money while I was making money, and I'm seeing people making, hits and stuff, after I done left the game. And, he's taking a holistic approach on how he's taking on his life and his celebritydom, if that's a word. And so he wanted to make sure that he didn't become one of those people out there that are that ruin his life, so to speak, trying to still be young. Like, because we talk on here all the time about these guys that are hip hopians, and they're out here being immature and young. And he said, hey, he's embracing his age. And when he hits the 40s,
Right.
he's gonna be a sex symbol. Hey man, right on, bro. That's better. That's better than you know what I'm saying? That's better than what Rick Ross and them was doing. And the other people that was in the generation before him that were that still are out here drinking crazy, doing shows and talking about this, talking about that, still flexing on people. And it's like, hey man, you're not in your mid-20s anymore. So, at your age, bro, y'all in y'all 50s. So start acting like it. But so I think Walker's doing a cool thing in the way he's approached all of this stuff. I'm in favor of it. And to touch back on to how he was on the show, even though he was on a reality show, he was keeping it as authentic as he possibly can with his reactions to things. Because this old lady she was all about all that stuff. She was all about the fantasy world, and he was there being like a stabilizing force whenever it came to rearing the kids or dealing with his wife. So I think bro is as solid as it gets when it comes to these rapper people. And this mentality here shows that he hasn't forgotten where he came from. And even his whole approach on how the thing worked out with Gucci, if y'all want to see how his reactions on those things, of how that whole thing went down, it was very humble. He knew he couldn't rap. He knew he wasn't good. He was just doing his thing. And once he made his money and stuff, he didn't want to do that anymore. So I think this is as solid as you can get, like I said, for these industry people. Yeah, man, I like how this goes. And I think that this needs to be an approach that more people take, I would say, that come from a community such as he does, and try to, give back as much as possible without breaking yourself in the process. And last thing I'll say is, and to touch on my initial point, you don't want to do this to the point that you hurt yourself and other people, because they got used to your streamlines of income. And, the way this economy is going, hey, man, I can't give you that 70% is looking like a 55% come next year, and I don't know how that's going to hurt people. So, this is a fine line. So you got to balance as well. But I just like the initial spirit behind it all. So way to go, Walk. Keep it up, man. And I think more people should, in his position, should follow suit.
Yeah, I agree. That's why you don't give a person fish, you teach them how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully what he means by I give away 70% is I try to set people up so that they can eventually learn how to generate wealth for themselves. That's
Right.
optimistically what I would hope that means, not
Mm-hmm.
that you literally just give it away just for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes me back to my central point about building infrastructure that best positions people to be educated in the ways that they need to be in order to be market proof for the future. I cannot stress that enough. That is extremely important, because we are literally on the precipice of entire forms of income and economies disappearing. And if your mode of earning a living or earning a livelihood is rooted in a lot of these disappearing economies, you're going to fall behind. And it can hit you at any point. It's going to hit you whether you're 22, 32, 42, 52, or 62. However old you are, when the bubble bursts on that, you're going to have to pivot. So right now is the best time for anyone who is in a vulnerable state to learn what they need to learn so that they can be viewed as an asset in emerging markets and not be viewed as a liability. Because trust and believe, if the future economy looks at you as a liability, it has no problem getting rid of you. You'll be laid off, you'll be fired, you'll be replaced. What you used to do will be automated, and good luck trying to figure out what your plan B is at that point. And I don't think that's the way for anybody to live. People who are on the upper end of the economic bracket don't have to worry about this because they're already set. This is why I believe that the wealth gap is widening. It's not shrinking, it's getting greater. And you're going to have more people who are on the lower end of this, where you are having to figure things out on the fly, and you're possibly going to find yourself in a position to where it is normal for you to be earning 2, 3, 4 different paychecks just to be able to keep up, because everything's gotten so expensive and fast, and it's just changed on you like this. So you just don't want to be in one of those vulnerable positions to be victimized by this dynamic. You want to be on the other end where you know what you need to know. And I think people like him who think like this and have the capital to do so can create inroads to put people in those positions. So that's what I want to see happen. I don't want to see more people getting broke. I want to see more people getting money. And it saddens me that you're seeing this happen where it's like either you're learning this, which is the smallest percentage of us right now, or you're not and you're falling behind. So hopefully he can be a part of that change. And real quick, I'm going to touch on the reality TV thing. I was going to bring that up. I never really watched it, but I could just tell via like clips or ads or whatever, the 5 minutes here or there when I'd flip to it, he never looked comfortable
He
in
did.
that position.
He did.
Like, he always looked like this ain't where I belong. I think his wife was the
Yeah.
driving force behind him being a part of that.
Yeah.
He was never really on that, which explains to me why he was only there for a year. Like, you look at these other guys like Scrappy and Jock, who've been on there for how long now? 5, 6, 7 years, however long they've been doing this nonsense. And Waka was only there from 2014 to 2016. That wasn't really him. And I also believe that that's a correlation to him and his wife getting divorced. He ain't even with her no more. They got divorced. So it's just one of those situations where, like, that's kind of how you can tell that he wasn't really, he wasn't really cut from that mold. And he was on some other stuff, rightfully so, thankfully. So I think the writing is on the wall in that regard. And I do like these comments. Hopefully, some of what I was saying can lead to him making moves therein, because that's what I think it takes, especially in this day and age where we still, for whatever reason, cling to what individuals like him and some of these pro athletes can do for us. So while we're still in that state of mind where that's what we're dependent upon, more or less, hopefully he can do something that's in the right way, in the right mold. So we'll see what happens in the future, but I at least appreciate the sensibility. I can at least say that much.
1,000, man. And let us know down in the comment section, guys. What are y'all's thoughts on this? Do you feel as though that Waka has the right mentality here? He's making enough money, so much so that he can give some of it away, some of it as in 70%. You think that's a little too much, or he should drive that number down a little bit? Let us know. And by the way, at the time of this recording, guys, we're about 3 subscribers away from that 1K, man. So do us a solid and hit that subscription while you're at it.
Yeah, make us change our ticker at the bottom. We want to change it. We want to change it. But shouts out to Walker, man. Good looking, bro. He can be a part of something special, something different. We'll see.
Yeah.